Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down a really powerful political argument. You know the kind. It asks a tough question. What if the smart vote is actually the one keeping you dissatisfied? We're going to pull back the curtain on exactly how a message like this is crafted to try and convince you to vote with your heart, not just your head. So, how do political parties actually try to change your mind, especially when you've been voting a certain way for years? Well, this argument is a fascinating case study because it doesn't attack the voter. Instead, it does something much more subtle. It changes the definition of the problem. Let's take a look at how it all unfolds. Okay, so first up, we have the critique of the status quo. And here, the source's argument against the Conservative Party is front and center. It starts by taking direct aim at their track record when they're in power, setting this really sharp, critical tone right from the beginning. And here we go. This is the core accusation right here. This is the line that really fuels the entire argument. I want you to pay close attention to the language. Manage the mess versus cleaning it up. It's a huge distinction. The source isn't just criticizing a policy or two. It's basically saying the party acts like janitors for problems someone else created, instead of being a genuine force for change. And this chart, this really lays out the accusation perfectly. Look at the left column, managing the mess. We're talking about just maintaining the status quo, temporary fixes, right? Basically slapping a Band-Aid on a problem. But then you look at the right, cleaning it up. And that's about enacting fundamental change, long-term solutions, rebuilding the whole thing. The argument being made is that voters are sold the dream on the right, but what they actually get time and again is the reality on the left. Now, to make this argument stick, the source brings out some receipts, right? It points to specific things it calls failures. We see decades-long issues with immigration numbers, a failure to curb spending, all framed as proof of this management approach. They even point to a specific future event involving Carney in 2025 as a moment where, in their view, the party just didn't stand on principle. All right, our next section is called the lesser evil trap. And this is where the argument for me gets really interesting. Because after blaming the party, it makes this huge pivot and starts looking at the voting strategy itself. Basically saying, hey, voter, maybe you're part of the problem. So what are we talking about here? It's this concept, lesser of two evils voting. We've all heard this, right? It's that practice of looking at the two candidates who can actually win, not really liking either of them, and then voting for the one you find just a little less, well, objectionable. It's all about stopping the person you dislike more from getting into power. And then you get this quote, which is just so direct. It says, stop voting for the lesser of two evils. That's how we got into this mess. I mean, wow. It takes that whole pragmatic, strategic way of thinking and says, no, that's not the solution. That's actually the problem. It's a total rejection of how many people approach voting. Okay, and this slide here, it visualizes what the source calls the trap, this endless loop. Let's follow it. Step 1, you're dissatisfied with the Liberal Party. Okay, makes sense. So step 2, you decide to vote for the Conservative Party as the lesser of two evils. But then step 3 happens. They get in and they just manage the mess without delivering that big change you wanted, which inevitably leads to step 4. You're still dissatisfied, and the whole cycle just resets, ready to go again. So, if the main party is ineffective and your voting strategy is a trap, what's the answer? Where do you go from here? Well, that leads us to the final part of the argument, a vote for conviction. This is the source's proposed solution for voters. And the alternative being proposed is a fundamental shift in mindset. It's simply this: vote for your values. The message is to stop playing political chess. Stop trying to calculate the odds and figure out who is electable. Instead, the suggestion is to just vote for what you actually believe in, what truly lines up with your core principles, regardless of the outcome. And of course, all of this has been building to a very specific point. The argument isn't just theoretical. It culminates in a direct call to action. After deconstructing the entire lesser evil logic, the source presents the PPC as the vehicle for this kind of value-based vote. So let's just quickly summarize the argument we've deconstructed. It's really a 1-2-3 punch. First, you present the Conservatives as just ineffective managers. Second, you frame the whole idea of lesser of two evils voting as a trap that keeps you stuck. And finally, you position a vote for the PPC not just as another option, but as the only way to actually vote for your values. And this whole thing really boils down to one final provocative question that it wants you to ask yourself. In any election, what is the real difference between a wasted vote and a principled one? Is the vote only valuable if it helps someone win? Or is the only truly wasted vote the one that doesn't reflect who you are and what you stand for? That is the core question at the heart of this entire argument.